Welcome to this episode of Strategy Simplified. I'm joined by Stephanie Knight, former McKinsey engagement manager and our chief learning officer here at Management Consulted. My name is Naman, and we're here with some interesting and exciting news about MBB application deadlines. So before we dive in, Stephanie, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Naman?
I'm doing fantastic. We are just trying to keep up with all the changes happening in the industry. One of the big ones that we're going to talk about today is that MBB have moved their application deadlines up and in some cases split the deadline into 2 dates. So do you mind just sharing a little bit more about what's happening and for which roles these new application deadlines apply?
So many of the top firms in the management strategy consulting space have seen a great recovery post-COVID. And there was some attrition, during COVID, and they didn't hire a lot last year. So they're booming in business. They need folks to come in and join their teams. And so to help get the right folks for these positions, they've spread out the recruiting process over the summer and fall. We've seen for the first time ever, McKinsey, BCG, and Bain are setting multiple dates in some circumstances. So let's go through what some of those are. So first, for McKinsey, for their full-time business analyst or business analyst intern positions, and of course, that's the pre-MBA roles for undergrad or master's candidates, you've got the July 19th, 2021 application drop date, as well as a second drop date, September 16th, 2021. In a similar fashion, BCG for their full-time or summer associate role, again, for BCG, that's the undergrad or master's pre-MBA role. You've got the first application deadline, July 16th, 2021, and then a second deadline, September 8th, 2021. For Bain, the associate consultant or associate consultant intern role, also undergrad master's pre-MBA role. First deadline is July 15th, 2021, and the second is September 9th, 2021. All in a relatively similar time frame, but different dates that you should keep track of.
Okay, so that's interesting and has the potential to be confusing. So if I am an undergraduate student looking to apply to McKinsey, BCG, or Bain, how do I know which application deadline I should apply by? And is there a strategy that I should be employing to make sure that, I'm prepared before I apply?
Yeah, there's a little bit, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword here, right? So first, we've got to keep in mind that there are a limited number of slots. These are coveted roles and they will fill up as you go along. So think back to the process that you went through deciding whether or not to apply early decision to college, something like that. Like applying earlier does show that you are more interested and motivated. And you have, in some ways, you may feel like you've got a better chance because there's more slots open and available. At the same time, the other end of that equation is you've got to be prepared and ready to perform at your highest level when you apply, recognizing that these top firms have relatively quick turnaround times in general. And so when you apply, you need to have already fully polished your resume, of course, before you apply. You need to have done all the networking that you're going to do before you drop your application. You need to be prepared with your fit interview questions. You need to have already started casing. You need to have all those things in the works. And so we're at the beginning of July, if you haven't started doing those things, then you're probably not ready to apply here in the middle or end of July. But you want to apply earlier, but you got to be ready. We've also heard from the firms that there is a preference to receive applications for full-time roles in July and then applications for summer internships in September. You're not necessarily excluded for doing the opposite of that, but that would be their preference in terms of filling these roles. And so you want to keep that in mind as well.
So Stephanie, I hear you saying if you've been ahead of the curve and preparing early, then you will be ready to pounce when these early drop dates are going to be upon us in just a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So those of you who have gotten a head start, fantastic. You can really capitalize on that now. We'd recommend that if you are just getting started now, it'd probably be best not to rush your process and really invest in your preparation before you apply.
So for those folks who are thinking, okay, I'm 10 to 14 days away from these mid-July application deadlines. That's not enough time for me to get prepared. I'm going to target September. What should they be doing between now and September to make sure they're ready when those drop dates come?
Our general process is this, right? First, you need to do all of your research to understand the industry. Make sure that this is an area you really want to invest in. Identify your target firms. After you've done that, you're utilizing strategic networking as well as generalized networking to just understand things about the firm, but going about a targeted, focused, strategic networking process in order to try and secure referrals for an interview. Then you can layer on your resume and cover letter preparation. All of those things need to be done and completed before you drop the application. But interview prep, in terms of fit interview preparation as well as case interview preparation, also has to be started before the application deadline is due. It's not enough time to wait until you secure an interview and then cram your interview preparation into days or even a week or two. The best candidates are ones that walk in with confidence, and you gain that confidence by getting reps and being well prepared, feeling that you are at your best and peak performance when you walk in, you're game day ready for that interview. So that's the order in which we generally recommend that you start to approach these things. And if you're recruiting in general here late summer or the fall, the time to start all those things is now.
You heard it here. The time to start preparing is now if you want to be a successful consulting candidate this cycle. Thanks so much, Stephanie.
Absolutely. Thank you, Naman. And we would love if you join us for our next Black Belt cohort, that you would consider working with us through resume edits, through coaching towards any of these types of interview preparation, fit interview, case interview prep. We would love to work with you.
You can learn more about Black Belt via the link in the show notes.